When you stop chasing her, it doesn't create silence. It creates storms inside her head. The chase doesn't end when you walk away. It begins in her mind. And that's the part most men never realize. Welcome back to Brainify On. Today we're breaking down what really happens in a woman's head when you don't chase her. This isn't about tricks. This isn't about games. It's about understanding female psychology and how silence can often speak louder than words. If you're ready, let's dive deep. 1. She questions her power. When you don't chase her, the very first thing that rattles her isn't you, it's herself. That silence you leave behind isn't quiet to her. It feels like rejection, but without the sting of words. And that cuts deeper because it forces her to sit with her own thoughts. See, women, especially the ones used to being admired, live with this quiet belief that their presence is magnetic. They've been conditioned by past experiences. Men who leaned in too quickly, men who folded at the first smile, men who couldn't hold back their feelings. It gave her confidence, a belief that she has mastered the rhythm of attention. So when you break that rhythm, when you don't respond the way others have, she doesn't just pause, she starts spiraling. Inside, she asks herself, did I lose my touch? Did I misread him? Did I say something wrong? It's not about you vanishing, it's about her identity cracking just a little, because for years she's built herself around this idea that she can pull in attention without even trying, and suddenly you didn't fold. That silence feels like the floor shifting under her feet. The outside world won't see this war. She might still smile, post, laugh, carry herself like she's unbothered. But deep down, she's playing every past moment with you on repeat. The way she leaned back, the little hints she dropped, the charm she thought would work, none of it brought you closer. That bothers her more than she'll ever admit. And here's the raw truth. Women like her don't just crave attention. They define themselves through it. It's their unspoken power, their invisible crown. When that crown feels shaky, even for a second, she feels something no one else sees. Doubt. It's not heartbreak she feels, it's something scarier. It's the fear that maybe her power, the very thing she built her confidence on, isn't as strong as she thought. That thought alone keeps her awake at night, staring at her phone, checking for your name, wondering why you didn't reach. And while she may never admit it, your silence has already started the war inside her head. 2. She starts observing you closely. When you stop chasing her, she doesn't just shrug and walk away. She starts watching, not in an obvious way, not with questions or direct words, but with silent observation. Women notice details men think go unnoticed. The time you come online, who you engage with, whether you still check her updates, every small thing becomes a clue. She reads your silence like it's a new language. Here's what most men miss. When you stop giving her your attention, you don't vanish from her mind. You actually move to the center of it. Because now, instead of being predictable, you've become mysterious, and mystery is addictive. She checks your social media differently. She notices the gaps in your replies. She pays attention to who you're giving energy to when it's not her. And the irony? Your silence doesn't make her detach. It pulls her in deeper. It's like a puzzle. Before, she thought she had you figured out. She thought you'd respond like all the others. But now, you're unreadable. And unreadable is powerful, because when a woman can't fully predict a man, she doesn't let go. She keeps watching from the shadows, trying to understand, and it's not just curiosity, it's instinct. Women are wired to read between the lines. They study body language, tone, timing. Silence for them isn't absence, it's presence without clarity, and that's what keeps her hooked. The truth is, when you stop chasing, you flip the dynamic. You go from being one of the many men drawn to her to being the man she can't quite figure out. And trust me, that shift changes everything. 3. She assumes you have options. The moment you don't chase, one thought rises in her mind. He must have someone else. She doesn't think you're sitting peacefully in solitude. She doesn't assume you're emotionally disciplined or detached. Her instinct tells her you've got options. Maybe even better ones, and that idea eats her up. She replays the timeline, how fast you stopped texting, how easily you walked away, how calm you seemed when she pulled back. To her, that calm isn't peace, It's distraction. It's a sign that another woman has your attention. And here's where it gets messy. She starts comparing herself to women who may not even exist. She imagines rivals in her mind. She wonders if they're prettier, softer, smarter, more feminine. She begins competing with shadows. Her behavior shifts. She posts more, dresses sharper, leaves captions that sound casual but are secretly designed to get under your skin. She wants to remind you that she's still the standard, still the storm you once noticed. But beneath that performance lies insecurity, because the idea of you choosing someone else, even in her imagination, is a wound to her pride. She may not want you back completely, but she wants to feel irreplaceable. And your silence, it makes her realize she might not be. That's when your value rises in her eyes, because you're not the man who begged. You're not desperate, you're scarce. And scarcity in her world equals power. 4. She begins testing you subtly. A woman won't always rush back when you stop chasing, but she will test you quietly, strategically. It could be a delayed reply, a sudden emotional post, a random appearance online at the same time as you. These aren't random, they're tests. She's probing to see if you'll break first. And it's not because she doesn't care, it's because she does. She wants to know, is your distance real or are you just playing a trick? Do you still think of her or are you truly detached? Every small move she makes in that phase is loaded with meaning. The story she posts, the song lyric, the selfie, it's not just content, it's bait. A silent question. Are you still watching? If you react too fast, she wins. Not the relationship, but the control. But if you don't move, if you stay calm and unshaken, it forces her to confront a new fear, that her grip on you has slipped completely. And here's where many men fail. They fold under the smallest test. They think replying will show strength. It doesn't. It shows predictability, and predictability kills attraction. Her tests aren't about love. They're about control. And when you don't fall for them, you're not just silent, you become immune. And immunity is the one thing she can't stand. 5. She fears losing control. This is where it hits her deeper. When you stop chasing, she starts fearing not just losing you, but losing control. See, attention is her quiet weapon. She doesn't need to shout. She doesn't need to demand. Small gestures like a pause, a smile, a delayed reply usually keep men hooked. But when those gestures don't move you, she feels powerless. That powerlessness doesn't show up in public. You won't see her panic. You won't hear her admit it. But behind closed doors, it's there. In the way she stares longer in the mirror, in the way she refreshes her screen, waiting for a message that never comes. Control has always been her anchor. It made her feel safe, desired, confident, and suddenly it's slipping. She realizes she can't pull you back with the tools that worked on everyone else, and that terrifies her. The fear isn't about losing your love. It's about losing the influence she thought she had. It's about realizing she's no longer the center of your orbit. You've stepped outside her gravity, and nothing scares a woman more than a man who doesn't bend to her pull. That's when she begins to realize control isn't guaranteed, it's earned. And if you're not giving her attention anymore, she knows she lost the one thing she thought she'd never lose. 6. She rethinks her own value. And finally, the silence pushes her into the hardest place. Self-reflection. When you don't chase her, she doesn't just question you. She questions herself. She starts asking why she wasn't enough to make you stay. And that thought doesn't leave easily. She replays her charm, her looks, her effort, her energy. She wonders why none of it worked. And slowly, she begins doubting the very image of herself she built through the eyes of men who always chased her. It's not about missing your presence. It's about missing the validation your attention gave her. Without it, she feels invisible. She feels ordinary. And for a woman used to standing out, that's brutal. This questioning doesn't happen in front of her friends or the world. On the outside, she may look strong, glowing, even happier. But inside, she's slowly dismantling her self-image, wondering if maybe she isn't as irreplaceable as she believed. That's the real power of your silence. It forces her to look inward, to face doubt she's been avoiding. And in that space, something shifts. You stop being just a man she once talked to. You become the man who made her question her worth. And that's why your silence isn't weakness. It's power. So here's the truth. Like when you stop chasing her, you don't disappear. you rise. Your silence forces her to face her own doubts, her own value, her own power. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy. And that shift, that's where your real strength lives. So let her think, let her question, let her wonder, because chasing isn't what wins respect. Silence and self-control do. If this spoke to you, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Brainify On, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want deeper insights, check out the other videos on the channel. They'll change the way you see relationships forever. Stay grounded, stay strong, and let your silence do the talking.